Alright, welcome back, Night Owl. Go ahead, dim the lights, pull up the blanket, and let your brain melt into that slow, quiet hum where facts start to sound like dreams. Tonight's story isn't loud or fast. It's a soft glide through the strange, slightly damp world of people who dug up corpses for magic. Yeah, you heard that right. While most folks in history were trying not to get near a graveyard at night, others were heading straight in with shovels, candles, and a very specific shopping list that included one fresh corpse, preferably with both hands still attached. Now, before you imagine some cartoon witch stirring a cauldron, let's slow down. We're not talking about fairy tales. We're talking about real, educated, robe-wearing humans, priests, scholars, alchemists, even nobles, who genuinely believed that the dead could help them harness divine, or at least very weird, power. Let's start with medieval Europe, where faith and fear were basically roommates. In the 14th and 15th centuries, medicine was half herbs, half superstition, and about 90% desperate guesswork. So naturally, some people figured, why not dig up a body? There's probably wisdom in there somewhere. Monks and magicians alike whispered about necromancy. Literally, divination by the dead. Sounds dramatic, right? In practice, it involved opening graves, stealing bones, and performing Latin prayers backwards to summon spirits, which, to be clear, was considered extremely illegal, not to mention blasphemous. But, of course, that didn't stop anyone. One famous 15th century necromancer was none other than Pope Sylvester II, or at least that's what centuries of gossip accused him of. He was a scholar, a mathematician, and apparently the sort of guy who couldn't invent a clock without people assuming he'd made a deal with the devil. Rumors said he owned a mechanical head that could talk, which sounds impressive until you realize it probably just said yes or no. People said he learned it all from corpses, that he'd gone to Moorish Spain, studied forbidden books, and dabbled in graveyard rituals. Did he? Probably not. But it makes a good bedtime story, doesn't it? Let's drift a little further into the world of alchemists, those endlessly confident medieval scientists who swore they could turn lead into gold, or, failing that, at least turn dead bodies into wisdom. Some believed corpses contained vital essences, remnants of the divine spark that animated life. They thought that if you could extract that essence, maybe you could live longer, get smarter, or just glow a little. And here's where it gets extra weird. Sometimes the corpses weren't even the goal. Sometimes people just wanted the grave dirt. Because grave dirt from the right person, a saint, a virgin, a recently executed criminal, was thought to have magical properties. Mix that with a little wine, whisper a charm over it, and apparently you had yourself a love potion, or a healing salve, or a guaranteed ticket to hell, depending on who you asked. But don't worry, things got even darker once the Renaissance rolled around, because that's when magic and medicine started dating again. So now it's the 1500s. Everyone's painting cherubs, dissecting cadavers, and writing books with titles like The Secrets of Nature Revealed by Fire and Blood. It was a great time to be alive, or dead, depending on your value to science. In universities from Padua to Prague, medical students began dissecting human bodies. Not because they were necromancers, but because they wanted to understand anatomy. Still, that didn't stop people from calling them grave robbers. Which, to be fair, they kind of were. Bodies for dissection were scarce, so professors often relied on freshly executed criminals, or, when things got desperate, whatever they could quietly dig up. Meanwhile, the line between medicine and magic blurred beautifully. Physicians prescribed mummy powder, a finely ground substance made from actual Egyptian mummies. It was sold in apothecaries as a universal cure-all for everything from headaches to heartbreak. The logic was simple. If the mummy had survived thousands of years without rotting, maybe it could help you do the same. And the rich absolutely loved it. Kings and queens consumed powdered corpses like it was some early form of vitamin supplement. Francis I of France reportedly carried a little pouch of the stuff everywhere, just in case of accidents. Imagine bleeding your royal knee on a hunt and saying, "Fetch me the ground pharaoh, please." By the 17th century, necromancy had gone from forbidden ritual to fashionable curiosity. Scholars like John Dee, Queen Elizabeth I's favorite astrologer, kept crystal balls and black mirrors polished for communicating with angels, or, the occasional wandering ghost. Dee's assistant, Edward Kelly, claimed he could summon spirits that revealed alchemical secrets. Most likely, he was just making things up. But he also allegedly convinced nobles to exhume bodies for spiritual experiments. Because nothing says gentleman scholar like a midnight dig behind a church. Of course, the church didn't love this. Necromancy was lumped together with witchcraft, heresy, and generally bad life decisions. But in private, even bishops sometimes looked the other way, especially if the corpse being disturbed was rumored to perform miracles. Holy relics were a booming trade, and digging up saints was practically an industry. You just needed the right justification. And so, across Europe, people kept digging. For relics, for healing, for secret knowledge, or sometimes just for curiosity. Because if death was mysterious, then corpses were like little libraries of cosmic secrets, just waiting to be opened. Let's drift one last time to the 18th and 19th centuries, the Age of Reason, when, theoretically, everyone had stopped believing in corpse magic. Except, they hadn't. By now, grave robbing had gone professional. Medical schools needed cadavers, and resurrection men supplied them. Technically, they weren't magicians, but in the moonlight, with their shovels and sacks, they looked exactly like the old necromancers of legend. Meanwhile, romantic poets like Percy Shelley and Lord Byron became fascinated by death, decay, and the blurred line between life and afterlife. Spiritualism rose from the ashes of necromancy, replacing bones and grave dirt with seances and table tapping. It was gentler, yes, but the impulse was the same. Humans still wanted to talk to the dead, to pull meaning from silence, to cheat mortality even for a whisper. So no, the corpse diggers never really went away. They just changed their branding. And as you drift towards sleep tonight, remember, for centuries, humanity has been trying to make peace with death by arguing with it, by poking it with sticks, chanting over it, grinding it up into powder, and asking politely if it has any advice. So if you ever feel weird about your own late-night curiosities, relax. At least you're not out there digging up your neighbors for a love potion. Now close your eyes. The past can wait till morning. Alright, we've wandered through enough graveyards for one night. Let's slow it down now. Take a deep breath. Feel the air settle. Somewhere out there, under the same moon that watched medieval monks and Renaissance alchemists dig in secret, lies the same old dirt, the same cold patience of the earth. And maybe, if you listened hard enough, you'd still hear the faint scrape of a spade, or just the wind remembering what humans used to do when they thought magic was buried under their feet. It's funny, isn't it? We like to think we've moved past all that we're rational now, scientific, modern, unshaken by superstition. But scroll through the internet for 5 minutes and you'll see we haven't changed that much. We still whisper to the void, asking for signs. We still collect lucky charms. We still buy things that promise protection, energy, or power. Same wish, just better packaging. The corpse diggers, in their own strange way, were doing what people always do, reaching out for a sense of control in a world that doesn't promise any. They weren't monsters, just curious, hopeful, maybe even a little lonely, because deep down, everyone wants to believe that death isn't a hard stop, that something of us, thought, breath, spark, lingers in the bones or the breeze, that maybe, if you ask the right question, the silence might answer back. So tonight, let the ghosts rest. Let your mind loosen its grip on history's shovel. The past has plenty of stories to tell, but not all of them need to be dug up at once. And as you drift towards sleep, remember, the real magic was never in the graveyards. It was in the questions we asked there, soft, trembling human questions, echoing in the dark. Good night, traveler. And maybe keep the lights dimmed, just in case the past decides to whisper back.